So thanks for having me here. The slides are actually up. There's a chance I'm not going to get through all of the text projects because I'm going to focus on the AI ones, and I'll get a warning on time if I don't have time to go through all the text projects. This is literally stuff I did in the last week and a half since semester ended, and I threw together a bunch of things that had been on my to-do list of stuff to try. So it's still kind of work in progress. There is a rhyme finder that uses texts to find poems in a slightly more visual way, a map application, which is the first thing I'll go over, a genetic algorithm little app thing that Mario's going to help me fix, and a cocktail generation thing that I might get to at the end. Now, one of the things for me that was fun here was that because I'm lazy, I didn't want to write any server code and deal with hosting. So all of this runs just in the browser as JavaScript, which makes it cool and lightweight for other people to play with too. The first one I'm going to do is actually this one. This is for Allison. That's why I wanted Allison to be in the room, because it was inspired by a tweet of Allison's. So Allison was, I guess, in the UK a little while ago and tweeted that she couldn't believe places in England have the names they have. Zooming in on a map of London produces a fractal of impossibly adorable toponyms. And I put that off in my idea book and I had been thinking about it and found an application. I haven't quite gotten to the fractal part of it, but let me just remind you what England looks like. Assuming our internet is working okay. So I don't know how well you can see these, but there are cute town names, Botolph Claydon, East Claydon, Middle Claydon, of course, Charndon, Poundon, Marsh Gibbon, Edgecott, Grendon, Underwood, Goddington, etc. All right, well, anyway, it does go on fractally forever as you zoom in. And so I went on this little detour of, can I get a good data set of all the British town names? And it turns out that just like there are obscure archives of images, there are obscure non-digitized collections of place name history and place name lore for various parts of England. They aren't digital yet. However, there are some data sets for sale, so I bought one. Now, can we do better than real British town names using, say, a neural net? I think not really, and you'll see in a second, but it sure was fun trying. So neural nets that don't need to worry about grammar and syntax are actually really fast to train and use. And this is a perfect example of feed it in something and come out with something that's fairly recognizable very, very quickly. I used Andre Karpathy's RNN JavaScript code, which is the recurrent JS library that's on GitHub, and output a saved model in pure JavaScript, which is pretty cool. It's just a JSON file. And like I said, I bought some UK town data and trained on it, and plugged in the output model JSON, adapted his code so that I'm just using the generation part, and hooked it up to a map app. And it does real-time generation of British town names. So first of all, over on the right, you can see the training data. This is part of the bees section. And yeah, I mean, Brightlingsea, they're all pretty strange anyway. Bombsgrove, Bromsgrove, Bromyard, Bryn Mawr. There's the real Bryn Mawr. Bude, Budley, Salterton, etc. Okay, so Karpathy's code, if you don't remember this or haven't seen it, he has this great demo. This was the origin of an awful lot of people running RNNs on text and coming out with crazy stuff. So this does a live demo when you load it and shows you the perplexity going down. He's training on something that has pretty complicated syntax and semantics here. So the model samples, this section of his page, are pretty garbage for a long time. But in the case where you're using something like, say, town names, you quickly come to something that looks pretty good because it's the morphology that you're mimicking. You're not having to deal with syntax and semantics, right? All right, so in his page, you have this option to pause up here, if you want to do this, pause, and then save model, and it will fill in this little text box with the JSON that you copy and paste and stick in a file, okay? And that's what you need, plus the code that I excerpted to use for prediction. So that's this one. All right, so what I did is I used Stamen's watercolor maps, and I have actual latitude and longitude for real towns in Britain. Just picking a random 10 to 15 and putting them on the map with a little castle icon, and then it's generating those names. These are live generated every time it maps. And as you zoom in, it puts more of them there, and every time you move, it generates some more. You probably can't read these very well. This is East Pond. That's actually plausible. It might really be in the data set. I'm not doing any checking on the generated names to see if they actually already exist in the data set. They might in some cases. Some of them clearly don't, though. Let's see. Ringacott, that's plausible. Stottrill, War. It's built in, so I can't get quite to the fractal generation stage, but I can get pretty far down to the point where the Stamen map tiles stop. It will, at that point, if you try to zoom more, it'll navigate you to some random other place in Britain, and you'll start exploring from that point. However, with our internet, it's not going to do a good animation of that, so I'm not going to try that. But it's pretty cool. It also has a feature that the original is actually listed as well. This is how I know that I didn't really do better. Because when I click on the actual generated town and see what some of them are, I laugh more at the thing that was there originally. So Allison was right that it's actually just inherent. The other thing, okay, so the other thing to know is that, let me navigate to Wales. So I did use UK names, and so there are a lot of, Welsh dialect names and morphology in the set, and Scottish as well. And those kind of mess up the rest. It's possible to partition this by country, like at the borders, and just use the Welsh for the Welsh. But then on either. But see, like that's the actual Welsh name, if you can see that. Mansell Garnage. See, that looks like it's made up by a neural net, right? I mean, this is the thing about the place names here. Pipe and lid. That's the real place. Pant. Okay, all right, I'm gonna stop. Anyway, it is pretty cool, and it's a great, like, one of the things I like about this application and the cocktail generator, if I get to it, is that the contrast between the real data, which is super weird, and the made-up data, they're both weird, maybe in different ways. Okay, so you do get some interesting things, like these incredibly improbably long words that this is Ebshimwarard, yeah. Next to things that look like they could be real, modder cotton, et cetera, which is cool, but so I don't know what's going on there. And this, like I said, so Whittle Hill is what my thing came up with. This is Felmersham. Upper Brintingthorpe is the real town. Thorpe Malzer. Back no end. Although you have to give points to Seathworms. Seathworms is good. So the conclusion I came to from this is that if I were writing the fantasy novel I've never written, is that I probably would use an RNN to generate the place names for that. All right. And now this, Toddlewitch and Copplethave, great names. Unfortunately, I don't remember which model I was running to get these. I produced several for different lengths of training time, et cetera. And I don't know it, but Toddlewitch is excellent. All right, so there are two technical things about this that are cool, actually. One is that I used SQL.js for the first time, and oh my God, it's amazing. If you like SQL, who doesn't like SQL, right? You can turn a CSV file with a command line tool, a different command line tool, into a SQLite file, load that into JavaScript in your browser, and use real SQL queries on it. And it's fast. So suddenly you've got in-browser database without the need for a back-end server at all. assuming, up to a certain size. I haven't tried something huge, but I used my entire set of latitude and longitudes, which is how I can do the navigate to a random place and plot 10 to 15 random towns. And the prediction code, it took me a little bit of forensics on Karpathy's code, which reads like C++ translated into JavaScript. But I was able to more or less easily figure out how to run just predict sentence, given the model that I loaded in, and get out however many I wanted. It's totally doable, straight in the browser, no server. So that's cool. All right. So second project, hope you like that, Allison. Second project, genetic algorithm art. So this is another case of just tying together some cool things, but it was definitely like the 12-year-old in me saying, I wanna do something fun and I don't wanna have to draw to do it. So I borrowed a bunch of things from people who've inspired me over the years. First of all, Dan Schiffman's Nature of Code is obviously this epic book, right? Chapter 9 has a couple of examples of genetic algorithms, and I borrowed heavily from one of his code examples for this. So the idea behind a genetic algorithm is that you have this gene pool, DNA, for whatever things that you're describing, right? And there is a bunch of random variation that takes place each evolution. And there's some kind of a fitness function that says whether something is a good evolution or a bad evolution. And the attributes are all encoded in a range of values from 0 to 1, and then you can map those to what you want the actual observed output to be. So we do still have the problem that it's a linear 0 to 1. So for text, this is a little problematic, but this was a visual application. And your goal as a designer is to figure out what are the things that I want to vary along different genetic dimensions and what's fitness, okay? Now, one of the examples in Schiffman's chapter is amazingly insightful in that it's an interactive algorithm. You decide as the viewer which one you think is more fit than another. And what's cool about that is that you get to change your mind about what's a good fit. So it's not, there's no model that you've given it training data and it goes off in a corner and does it for you. You decide while you're playing with it what's a good fit. Okay. And then one of my absolute favorite projects over the past several years has been this. This guy, Clay Heaton, did a version of Schiffman's code in this processing repo. It's still up there and you can still run it. It runs old processing, not P5. That does a genetic algorithm of flowers. This one isn't very interactive in the way that I'm talking about, but it has this notion of like you pick attributes of flowers you want. So this is the blue flower series, which I think is beautiful. And this, I was telling Mario about this last night. This is one of my all-time favorite projects from Jared Tarbell. It's not his usual algorithmic generative art. It's algorithmic generative monsters. And I think it's adorable. And I want to see more generative art that's adorable and not just abstract geometry. I really like the story and the personality in this. And he has a great, this actually links to his website where it's still live. I checked last night when I was finding this picture with some talk about how he put them together, even though it was in Flash at the time. Okay, so this is Schiffman's actual example that is only slightly more hideous than what I started with. You'll see in a second. But okay, so Schiffman's demo. If you go to the online version of Nature of Code and you scroll down in this chapter, these are all alive. So let me see if I can show you it running. I would recommend reading this chapter to understand how it works. Because I'm obviously not going to explain the whole thing here. So like he like many other example authors has like rocket ships and stuff. I like the flowers. Okay, I think we're getting to the, yeah, so that's a cool example. This is the faces. So these, in his example, it's sort of these sad, happy faces, where when you roll over it, you're increasing the score, saying, I like this, and you're not voting for, you're essentially increasing the score of the ones you like. And so that's you enacting your fitness. And then as you evolve a new generation, you'll see that more of the ones that appear in this generation have the attributes of the ones that you liked, like say color and the location of the mouth, which now looks like a cigarette rather than a mouth. And you get occasional random variation, which were not the things that you were voting for, right? So that your gene pool stays fresh and you get to keep adding in attributes. So if something shows up that you like, you can say, oh, actually mix in a little bit of the red or whatever. And every time you do this, you see it's evolving more the way that I voted for it. So that's the cool thing about this version of genetic algorithms, right? I'm actually going to shut this because I hear my fan going. Okay, so that's that demo, which is really cool. This is what I wanted to build, by the way. So monsters, castles, like I said, 12-year-old. This is Cinderella's castle, one of the blueprint diagrams for it. And I'm not an architect, so I looked at this and went, how cool, like it would be so cool if I could draw that, and this is what I got to. So like, I'm bad at drawing, I'm bad at geometry, I'm really bad at processing, even after like going, oh, but I'm voting, maybe I can get closer, I still only got the blue houses will look like shit. So we're not gonna bother with that demo. So from this point, I went, all right, I've spent an entire day trying to draw chimneys and windows and gotten nowhere. That was so frustrating. So I went, let's buy art. So I went to Shutterstock and I bought castle pieces. Why the hell not, right? There's amazing art on Shutterstock, and you pay this artist and you've got these vector drawings that are pieces of castles. So next step is trying to figure out how to put them together in a picture in a way that makes sense. Way more, I knew that this would be hard, but it's way harder than I thought, because I had to start thinking about all the rules about what goes together. And I don't know anything about medieval architecture, and I didn't have a copy of Alan Lee's Castles or whatever that is. So like, I don't even know what that little thing with the orange hat is. It's some kind of tower that sticks off the side of a castle. Like, does anyone know what that is? Yeah. Just in German. Mario, that would help too. All right. So yeah, so that positioning alone was hard. Then after I added more pieces, I had lots of floating towers because I got the rules wrong, and that looks cool, but it's not right. Eventually, I got to something that looks like this, and this is sort of cool, right? Because you can ignore the sort of geometric mistakes a little bit and get kind of close to this. It ends up looking sort of like Mont Saint-Michel or something, you know, beautiful hillside tower or whatever. But it was really hard. It was like a hard computer game to vote enough to get it into one of these positions. Let me show you. So this is it with tint in the background without a hill effect. So just to give you a feeling of what it's like to play with this. So I load the page and I've got a bunch of these tiles. So let's say I happen to like these tall thingies here. And that door thing is kind of cool. So I'm gonna upvote that one. Upvote that one. But maybe I like the color on this one. I kind of like this guy, so I'm going to upvote that one. Evolve. All right, so there's the color. You can see some similarities, right? There's this guy, this guy. I said I liked that guy. All right. Which one do you guys like? Which one should I go for? If it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which one do you want? 6? Super. Yeah, 6 is pretty good. 1? All right, let's see. All right, so we're getting a bunch of green. Actually, I kind of like this. So, okay, so at this point, when you're getting to the point where you kind of like it, you're like, why aren't these bigger? Why can't I use vector art? Well, because P5.js doesn't do vector stuff yet, and P5 SVG.js didn't work very well for me. It was really slow. There's something not right with whatever I was doing. This is not bad. So I like these. Now I'm all green. So if I do evolve new generation, I should start seeing some randomness. So that's a different shade of green. We've got that now. So you see how as you evolve it, especially if you aren't voting on anything, you're not reinforcing anything, and it throws in some randomness. So that's how your decision as an artist is all like, which one am I going to pick to feed the next generation? And now when I was doing this, I would discover like, oh shoot, I really like the previous generation better, and I've just wiped it all out. So this is Mara was laughing because we were talking about how you have to be able to save your work at each stage. I haven't built that yet. All right. So okay, so this was not too bad. This stuff, like I had built in all these rules for like how to attach these little towers, the fact that like windows appear inside things and don't float in space or whatever. But you're laughing, but look. And it was pretty hard. The code was pretty nasty. I need a better like data structure or something for how to do all of that. So then I had a change of, let's say, artistic direction. I wanted to involve text. Now, text, like I just really like text visualization stuff. So I actually own a couple of pieces of this kind of art that's incredibly popular right now, where it's text on the background and it's some kind of print on top, right? It's like, this is everywhere. It's all over Etsy, it's all over Pinterest, it's all over every like antique craft store, everywhere. So I thought, maybe I could do something like that and use a text that I like that sort of works with the imagery. So we ended up with Ivanhoe in the background and transparent castles. You may or may not like this direction, but I ended up thinking it was sort of cool. But to put text on the background of one of these things and have it be artistic, you have to do all sorts of stuff. Like I was using Gutenberg.txt files, so you have to make real em dashes, you have to do curly quotes, you have to do indents, you have to use real fonts and format. In my case, I wanted to format the names in the text, the capitals, so they looked better and stood out more and all of this. And I'm not a very good visual designer, but I think I got not too far. So you can see here we have like darker, it's a better font. We have darker, different font for the capitalized words. And we've got this kind of layering effect. Can you guys see that, where some are darker, the overlapping effect? I like that because it looks like printing on top of things. It gives us a three-dimensional effect. So let's see. Do I have the link? Yeah, so it essentially looks like this in the toy version now, where you have the gradient, you have the castles, and then you have the little cells. And it is fun to play with. It does turn out, interestingly, that Ivanhoe has unfortunate text in that it has a lot of anti-Semitism in it. So I spent a lot of time going through and voting against text that showed up talking about the Jewess or the Jews and money lending, which I had totally forgotten about. So I didn't bother to change the text because it sort of fit with the imagery, but that's a part of the voting side that I think is cool, that I can figure out like which random section of text I like or don't like as the background, as well as the color. So counting again, which ones do you want me to vote for? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1. 7. Yeah, the one thing about this silhouette effect that's cool is that you get the bridges and the crenellations really showing up. Like, actually, I like that effect too, so I'm going to go for this one. Any other number? Oh, let's see. 4. 8. Yeah, that's cool. So remember, when you're thinking about the voting, one thing you're thinking about is text section, color, and arrangement of the castles. So you can vote for one where you like the color, but only the color, you know? I don't like this color. What now? I actually do like this one. But this purple is not bad. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's pretty good. Which one? Well, that was 7. Sorry, 6. See, you can't undo either. All right, but so look, like we've got the like little gate here that works really well. I like that. The disinherited knight is pretty good, although there's something wrong with the spacing here. All right. Anyway, they're cute, they're fun, and they have a ways to go. But I think it's a cool application of different principles mapped to the genetic algorithm and then the voting, which is fun. So as we were saying, you want to be able to save the output of the ones you like. So say you're somebody making prints for Etsy or whatever, you want to do it fast, you need to be able to save the ones that you liked. Vector art would work better. I'm not, even though I have vector art, I'm not actually using the vector art in this example because it didn't work right. We also want to be able to save the DNA of the ones that we liked, right? You want to be able to make children based off of those. Or you want at least the script of like the actual commands that output that image, because that's like the phenotype expressed from the DNA. And I want to figure out how to do this kind of genetic algorithm with text as the output, but that does require a whole lot more thinking. Maybe Allison can help me think about it. All right, so that was 2 AI-ish things. Shall I do one more? Yeah. Okay. Let's do the cocktail generator. Okay. So, yeah. So this is the least intelligent, but the funniest, and I think that they're related. The fact that it's not very intelligent, but it's funny. Because a lot more sort of thinking and authorship went into this, and I'd like a way to make it, I guess I'm opening it up to you guys on the floor of how would we make this less stupidly than I did and less manually. So, I mean, who doesn't love a good cocktail, right? I like reading the recipes, just like I like perfumes and wine descriptions, although they have less of an interesting vocabulary. They're pretty, if they're done right, they're pretty. This is me preparing this talk. Okay, so for a couple of years, I've been looking for a good data set, and I almost bought one a year ago, and I didn't, luckily, because Hadley Wickham reminded me that this guy, Jordan Meyer, did this really great talk with scraped cocktail recipes from the New York Times. Now, the one problem with this data set is that it's small, so I end up seeing a lot of repetition. When I've probably hit every single recipe as I reload the page. But Jordan Meyer put his code up there. It's a great talk for the data scientists among us because it's about like how would you optimize your liquor cabinet, so which alcohols co-occur in the most drinks so that you can put them near the front of your cabinet if you care about that kind of thing. I know Mario does. So, and it's a great, he has this data set that was super easy to use. All right, so let's take his data and remix it. By the way, this is a real product, a Sasquatch 110-ounce extremely large cocktail shaker. I'm so tempted to buy this and just leave it sitting around. Actually, I can think of a few people to send it to. All right, now you don't have to read the details, but essentially because of the specificity of cocktail recipes as a genre, there are a lot of little odd things in there. And the more I looked at them as a recipe genre, the more I thought I need to do something smarter with this. I didn't do something like just RNN or Word2Vec because I actually had sort of an artistic end goal in mind, and I didn't want just, it's super easy to just do random recipes. It's like boringly easy, and I didn't want to do that. So I ended up writing a lot of manual rules, but some of the rules that I had were around things like ingredients. So I wanted there to be certain types of things in the new recipes. You will notice that near the top of this, water and ice come in different forms. So you don't just get ice, you get icebergs, frozen slush, snow cones, hail, snow, and sleet. You get water of different types, so streams, puddles, lake water, pond water, etc. You get drugs along with your alcohol, so you've got your Adderall, your Prozac, your aspirin, your Viagra. And then a whole bunch of other things that I pulled out of a couple of like WordNet, scented WordNet, I've missed word in there. Positive valence nouns, negative valence nouns, more herbs, flowers from Europe because there were too many otherwise, fruits, other fruits. So essentially I just wanted to expand the vocabulary and the space of what a cocktail recipe is. Really, I want to say I wanted magic spells, and I didn't get anywhere near that because that would require something much more fantastical than what I had to work with. So some of the principles I applied early on. Sugar, like sugar syrup and honey, show up a lot. So I said, okay, let's map those to positive valence words that I got from Scented WordNet. I didn't pre-check what those words were, so that's a true element of like, what the heck are you going to get here? Negative words for bitters. There are lots of bitters in cocktail recipes, so I went with like negative words. Lots more herbs and fruits. Alcohol, if there's more than one alcohol, you might end up with a drug in there as well. Club soda, you have book club soda, golf club soda, wine club soda, etc. Why not, right? And then the other thing is that Rita.js is a great library, and it'll do things like similar sounding words that aren't necessarily rhymes, and you get some of the most interesting things from that. That's a fantastic library. By the way, I did not know about Allison's pronouncing thing until today, your pronouncing library. That would have really helped with this, and with an earlier project that I didn't show. So the thing that's interesting is because of water being substituted for other waters, you get interesting things like the lake watermelon, which I kind of like. And you get things like 3/4 ounce simple kindness, which is lovely. Come on, that's awesome. All right, and you also, this thing about Rita doing the things that sound similar, a dash of nutmeg becomes a dash of nightmare, which is fantastic. An ounce of cream can be an ounce of scream or any other thing, an ounce of dream, which is also fantastic. Down here, it's doing its best to sound things out. So you've got white creme de cacao and you get white creme de decayed. Fantastic again. Creme de banane is creme de brain, even better. And it's really good at the names of things. So the benediction becomes the addiction. Yeah. You've got a dash of orange saddlesore, beer, and I mean, these are great results, right? All right, you get very odd things. So in bloom becomes in boom, which has a whole bunch of weird shit in it, including white vigor and white pretentiousness, which is, again, totally fantastic. And the Pineapple Expressed has some weird stuff. Fresh cardamom juice sounds wonderful, actually. Simple eye candy and a twist of happiness. Come on. Yeah, and we also get some weird serendipitous bugs. People have talked about serendipity for a while now. This one, I just went, what the hell happened? I eventually figured out where the bug was, but this is like such a nice terse, including the whole ketchup. It's so good, yeah. All right, so the demo, it's essentially, again, the case that I wanted to have the original, I have no idea where that picture is coming from. I have a kind of random Twitter Flickr picture search going on. But so you get the original inspiration because seeing the original data makes you laugh even more at what was actually coming out. So this has half a birth control pill in it, which is not a bad idea. It's the Mr. Croner, too, making you ask some questions. Sometimes they come out kind of plausible and interesting because of the better, there's a cup of Hey, 4 teaspoons of word splitting. Excellent. Yeah, they're fun. They're surprising in some good ways, and then, like, okay, whatever. Sassafras juice. Grand Garner, because it doesn't know Grand Marnier, 7 paper-thin slices of black ruffle. I don't know. I mean, they do make me laugh more than any of the other projects, so I'll say that. Simple smoothness, or to taste. Darkened Story. See, Darkened Story is a good name for that. Yeah, I'll wrap up, yeah. Negativity, aspirin. See, aspirin in a cocktail seems like a really good idea to me. All right, so this was super manual, so it made me laugh, but it required a lot of tuning, a lot of like looking at what didn't parse and what the rule should be. There were lots of words that I had no way to find. So like, what if I want all the forms the water can take? Like, I ended up going through the dictionary that's in WordNet and finding sections of it for the herbs or whatever. Maybe there's a better way to do things like this in an automatic but still sort of reliable way, but it felt pretty manual. So I don't know, maybe spaces using Word2Vec, if I can actually limit what, with some kind of tuning, what gets included in the neighborhood of a seed word, that might work. That would be cool. So I guess that's it. I'm not gonna, the first project that's in here is a rhyme finding application. It's in, the examples of it are in my slides online if you want to see them. So this is the slide link again. And I guess if you have any questions, we'll take a couple of questions. Thanks.
Maybe just one or two questions?
Yeah, I went over, sorry.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is your cocktail generator online?
No, they're all, so I debated about whether I should throw up my really shitty code, and I did not. I'm giving a talk at I.O. where I'm gonna, I think, tune these and add a few more and sort of make it more thematic. I think, so probably in a couple of weeks they'll all be online, all right? So stay tuned. Or you could email me and I'll get you it, yeah. Yeah.
Have you like made any of the cocktails that were generated?
After party.
Yeah. No, but I'm kind of tempted by some of them. I especially like the mixing of not sweet things. Like, I think that the directions with, you know, pepper and things and other herbs are solid. So. All right, thanks guys.